Hey, good afternoon and welcome to day 3 of Death Over Lunch. I'm here today on this Death of Cards journey that we've launched this week for our 8 weeks of contemplating end of life, death, and life, and how we have a little bit of control here on thinking about it ahead of time. And during this weird COVID that we're all in, why not take some time with this concept and each other? So I'm Shylene Schlackl, and I'm happy to introduce my mom, Mary Calla, who's joining us today from Port Alberni. Welcome,
Hi,
Mary.
everyone. Hi, everyone.
Thank you for saying yes today. We're looking at the third card for the living life section of the Death of Cards. And today it's all about having conversations. It's all about making time to talk to your loved ones about life and death and what's most important to you. So I thought, who better to bring in than my mom? So thanks again, Mom, for being here.
You're welcome, Shy.
Yeah. So, yeah, thinking about the Death of Cards and looking at, one of the things we did when we designed this deck was we thought about all the aspects of being human. So thinking about your spiritual self and your emotional self, your physical self and your intellectual self, to create a whole picture of thinking about end of life. And today's card is about this conversation. What matters most to us? So I thought I'd talk to my mom. So tell us a little bit about what you think about talking about death, Mom.
I think talking about death or planning for the time that you die is really important to the loved ones that you leave behind. They are clear on what you want. They're clear on what you don't want. Which at the time of your death of the person that you love so much, and when they've passed away, and none of this has been spoken about, your children, your husband or your wife or your loved ones aren't sure of what you wanted. And so they're making decisions based on what they think you want. So an example, for instance, you have a massive stroke. You can't speak. What are they going to do? When all along, you don't want any life support. You don't want to be tube fed. You don't want IV. You just want to pass away. Be it a burden on your family or whatnot. As a retired RN, I worked with numerous people's disorders, quite a few of the elderly, excuse me, and this actually happened to a patient of mine, and she had been coming and going throughout her illness, and then she had a massive stroke, and her family didn't know what to do. And her family was, some of them sort of knew what their mom wanted, and they didn't want all this extra stuff to happen to her. They just wanted her, she was comfortable. They just wanted her to pass away in a dignified way. The other half of the family wanted to do absolutely everything for her. And they won.
Okay.
So this woman now is being tube fed. She's got IVs. We're taking blood tests. We're taking all of this sort of stuff. And her stroke hasn't improved. So it prolonged her life, but her quality of life was so poor.
Right.
And
so we're alive, but are we living?
Right. And so the half of the family that didn't want this for her, I could just see their struggles and their suffering. And they tried to explain it to the other half. And it was such a struggle because Mom had not talked to them about what she wanted and what she didn't want. So I think for me, that was so important. My mother died that way, more or less. And I knew my husband's passed away almost 5 years now, but I knew what he wanted. But on both cases, I was also their executor. So what I wanted upon my death, which was really important, I did not want my children to have to do this for me. So I went ahead, and my executor now is my notary. And she will take care of that. For my children, will not have to deal with that measure. They will be allowed to grieve.
Thank you.
Right? They will allow to grieve. It's so important.
Thank you,
to
Mary.
grieve without all this extra pressure on them. So
what's important to you is that at the end of your life, your children can be present and not worrying about the business of it.
That's correct. And so they can deal with it amongst themselves as my children and grandchildren, and talk about it and talk about me, and actually spend that time doing that together rather than doing all the business aspect of it. And believe you me, it is extensive.
Yeah.
It takes weeks and weeks and weeks to actually complete the whole thing. And so that's what's important to me upon me dying.
Yeah.
I want my children to be comfortable and RestSure.
Oh, yeah. Perfect. Oh, thank you, Mary. You know, I know that we could have this conversation again, and we probably will. I think this is just the beginning of how we're going to start sharing this information that RestSure has been gathering, and helping spread the word about it not being scary to talk about this stuff ahead of time. And in fact, what we're doing is alleviating a lot of fear by having these conversations with our loved ones ahead of time. So this Death of Cards deck came out to support my loved ones, and they all got them for Christmas. It was a great Christmas present. Crazy Christmas present, but to start these conversations with our loved ones. And thank you again, Mary, for coming on. I really, really appreciate your insight as an RN and as my mom and as a woman who's watched many folks die and been present to that and knows the difference between a good death and a bad death. And so thank you, everyone, for listening today. And if you want more information, you can go to restsure.ca, or you can send me a message at any time, and I'd be happy to talk to you about how you too can talk with your loved ones about what really matters to you at the end of your life. Thanks, Mom. I love you.
Bye, everyone.